This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman.
This is Lauren Lester, the voice of Robin and Nightwing.
And you're listening to the DCAU Review.
Hosted by Cal and Liam.
Streaming at DCAUreview.com.
And on your favorite podcast app.
Welcome, everybody, to another special bonus episode of the DCAU Review. I am one of your hosts, Cal. With me, my good friend, good brother, the man that runs our Twitter account. It's Liam. Liam, speaking of Twitter, Twitter was abuzz this week as we learned some very exciting news, which is the sole purpose of our bonus episode today. We are excited to chat a little bit more about the upcoming Batman Caped Crusader series, which we've learned is no longer canceled. Thank God.
That's right. For those of you who have listened to our past bonus episodes on this topic, when last we left you, dear listeners, the show's future was very much up in the air in the wake of Warner Brothers Discovery kind of just taking a big old fire axe to seemingly specifically their animation department, but kind of everything, and canceling a lot of projects that were either already heavily into production or in some cases already finished. And so we weren't quite sure if we'd have any other updates to talk about in the future, though there was at the time some mention that they were hopeful in looking to shop it around to some other streaming services. But yes, we got the big news, the big headline this week that Amazon Prime has in fact picked up the show, and we got a pretty sizable episode order right off the bat.
Yeah, we learned so earlier this week, as we mentioned, The Hollywood Reporter dropped some information, an article by Leslie Goldberg, where she mentioned that she without having confirmation, verbal public confirmation from either party at this point, but was there to report, in fact, that as you mentioned, Amazon, our good friend Jeffrey Bezos, swooping in at the last second. It turns out Jeffrey Bezos was a hero all along. Who quite the redemption story.
America's best friend, Jeffrey.
That's
Bezos.
Right. His, as you mentioned, has swooped in with Amazon Prime. Interestingly enough, I think when we last talked about this, that was my speculative guess. And I mean, it doesn't take a rocket surgeon, I guess, to figure out which platform might fit best with it. But I think, ironically, there was some rumors at the time that Justice League and Justice League Unlimited and maybe Superman, I can't remember, some cartoons, DCAU cartoons specifically, were leaving HBO Max to go potentially to Amazon. So I speculated at that time that the Amazon was kind of testing the waters, perhaps. Turns out they don't have those shows yet. Those DCAU shows still live on HBO Max for now, at least. And we, as you mentioned, we got an exciting report that not only did Amazon end up picking up Caped Crusader, but they're starting with a 2-season order. Now, how many episodes 2 seasons is, I don't think they specifically say in the article. I guess it depends on where you are in looking at current streaming television shows. You have things that are on Disney, that are between 8 and 10 episodes at some point. You have stuff that comes on Netflix that could be up to 13 episodes. I guess you would probably look at similar or comparable cartoon type shows on some of the streaming services and find out what they're typically ordered for and maybe take a wild guess there. But either way, even if it's only 8 episodes, that means, hey, we'll have at least 16 episodes of this. If you get 13, heck, 26 episodes is great. And anywhere in between, I think we're just happy that any of this is ending up seeing the light of day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 8 is probably the safest bet, and this is going almost solely off the fact that Amazon's other big animated superhero hit is the Invincible show. And that first season was 8 episodes, and I believe it's been picked up for 2 more, which are also going to be 8 each.
Okay.
So yeah. I think that's the safest bet now. Obviously, that could vary depending on how it works. And obviously, in the case of Invincible, I believe that was only a 1-season guaranteed thing, and then it was renewed, whereas this has a a bigger commitment right off the bat, which would then perhaps make you think that since it's not being made in-house by Amazon, that perhaps the episode order could be different. But if I had to guess, I would guess, yeah, 8, somewhere in that 8 to 13 would certainly be the sweet spot, I have to imagine.
Well, and what is this podcast for except baseless speculation? Although I grant you that that does make a lot of sense if you're looking at the other hit cartoon show on Amazon's streaming service. But yeah, we didn't get a whole lot of other additional nuggets or information, as we mentioned. The article does mention that reps for all parties declined to comment, as formal deals have not closed yet. But it is very interesting that this does end up showing up on Amazon. I think if this is any other property, any other character, this may have really struggled to find a home someplace. But I think at this point, Batman is a proven commodity, number one, arguably the most popular superhero in the world. Certainly a box office draw still, based on what we saw last year with Matt Reeves' Batman movie. So we know that there is still money to be made off of that. Eyes are going to be drawn to this Amazon Prime service based solely on the character. But I think it probably didn't hurt that you also have Matt Reeves, J.J. Abrams, two of the biggest names in Hollywood, as far as directors are concerned. And then the proven track record of both James Tucker and Bruce Timm lent a lot, I imagine, to this as well, being a very sought after property.
Absolutely, along with of course veteran writer Ed Brubaker on the staff as well. Yeah, I think it's a bit of an all-star team. And if you look at, as we mentioned, Amazon already has that Invincible animated series. The Boys is one of the most popular television shows in the world at this point. So it seems like Amazon has kind of is all in on the superhero genre, and kind of it's a diverse package, because obviously neither The Boys or Invincible are from the quote unquote big two of the comic book world. So this is their first venture as far as partnering with Warner Brothers here. And it's also something that, and we sort of talked about this, I think, on our last episode, which is that while HBO seems to be thinking that their best bet is to make things and then farm it, or Warner Brothers thinks that their best bet is to make things like this and then get someone else to buy them. I think Amazon and most of the other streaming services are still very much in the mold of, let's just get as much as we can get, as many known intellectual properties and anything we think that will draw eyeballs to this. And then, you use that, and you can hopefully keep people subscribed in perpetuity with some of your other shows that debut around it. So yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, I guess, for both companies' current strategies, which is on the Warner Brothers side, is to make it and then let somebody else pay you to air it. And then on the other side, we have every other streaming service in the world looking for content that they think will get eyeballs on them. And certainly, as you said, a Batman series, made by Bruce Timm and James Tucker, and also, co-produced by Matt Reeves and J.J. Abrams. That's gonna be one of those ones that I think people will sign up just to see it, at least for the first season. Obviously, depending on how the reception is of it, who knows how it'll go and how many more episodes we'll get after that. But I think certainly this first season is going to get a lot of attention.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, and hoping it has a similar trajectory that the Batman the Animated Series. Obviously, you can't help but draw the parallels, especially us having a podcast that does nothing but discuss the series that we are talking about there. That started this whole DC animation revolution. So you hope that this brings enough people there. Meanwhile, hopefully, I mean, do you have a feeling, a guess as to whether or not we see this before the end of 2023 at this point, or do you feel like we're looking at early next year? I think from what we've heard and piecing things together, production was well along the way. In the middle of late last year, we had Ed Brubaker being brought on, and then we had some voice casting confirmations as well. So you figure at this point, if we're at the point where we're casting voices with Dietrich Bader being an unconfirmed character, you have to figure that they were somewhat well along with this, and it was probably set for an early 2023 release or mid 2023 release, but
Right.
you see them pushing it back to 2024 when now that the DC movie universe is under James Gunn and maybe trying to create some synergy with some of the other releases that are happening.
Yeah, I think that could be a possible. We know the next live action Batman movie is set for 2024 with Matt Reeves at the helm in the director's chair once again. So you could potentially see it pushed next year. It is probably a question of, as you said, how far along they were. The understanding was at the time when it was clear these projects weren't going to make it to HBO Max was that at least for this series, they were kind of continuing business as usual, producing the show and making the show, assuming that it would get picked up by another streaming partner. So I would think if the show's ready to go, yeah, it's either does Amazon, and I don't know how much of that is up to Warner Brothers, who owns the show, versus Amazon, who's paying to air the show.
Right.
Like, who gets to decide that, who gets a bigger say in that, if it's an equal partnership. Because yes, I can certainly see the Warner Brothers side wanting to maybe debut it within the realm, maybe the same quarter of the year that this next Batman is coming out. But I could also see if Amazon if hey, we're between seasons of The Boys and Invincible and whatever their other sort of tentpole shows are, and they want a big show that's going to draw some eyeballs, maybe they push to get it out a little bit earlier. So yeah, I think it'll all depend maybe who that decision is up to ultimately, whether it's up to Warner Brothers or up to Amazon at the end of the day, or again, maybe it's maybe both sides have a say in that in some ways. Who could possibly know? But yeah, I don't think it's impossible that this could get pushed to 2024, especially because as of now, we don't quite know how far along they were, other than, as you said, they were still working as usual. They were still writing the episodes. They were already recording dialogue, recording actors for the show. So it seemed like they were at least decently far in the process, but it's tough to say.
Again, more baseless speculation from us. We can only guess. So yeah, at this point, it's interesting. It looks like that Amazon is becoming the sort of hub for these animation shows, or these animated shows. As the article does mention that not only is would Batman Caped Crusader be joining, but of course, as you mentioned, Invincible has been a rather large hit for them. They also have a series called Undone. They have Fairfax, the Legend of Vox Machina, and The Boys Presents Diabolical, which I think is suppose it's either a spin-off or a prequel to the Boys series, which is also animated. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff there from our good friend Jeffrey Bezos. So we can only hope that we get this debut sooner rather than later. Even getting people ramped up. We won't have, after the Shazam movie next year, that's debuting this week in theaters. We won't have another DC property, I don't believe, until the Aquaman movie is supposed to still come out. Oh, we get Flash this year too.
I was going to say, allegedly that Flash movie's coming out. So
So maybe it would be fortuitous to drop it in that fall area. You have kind of a lull in DC stuff. So if Amazon's looking to sort of capitalize on a lull in superhero content for the DC world, that might be a place to jump in. But yeah, very exciting. Glad that this show is getting picked up. I think we were from the get-go already on board with this show, with the creators, of course, and then some of the other people that we've seen involved with it. But it's exciting to see that we'll continue to have content. Liam, I imagine it won't be too much of a stretch for us to do similar reviews to these episodes of this show, perhaps in future episodes of the DCAU reviews. So who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. We're all, as we've always said, we're always excited for more episodes, more shows, more movies, whatever they are, anything that we can get from. And while this isn't necessarily looking to be a direct continuation, as we've talked about, of the DCAU, the Timmverse, as it were, but Obviously, something in that vein at the same time is gonna be really exciting for us and for anybody listening to this. Again, I'm sure. So with that many talented people, and again knowing that it was wanted. I know it was mentioned in that Hollywood Reporter article that Amazon was not the only company looking at this. Hulu and a few others were also sort of in the running for it. So it looks like there was a lot of interest generated for it. So it's fun to know that, one, there's so many talented people working on the show already, which is certainly, the most important part, the most important, show of quality, so to speak. But to know that this many other potential streaming services were interested in picking it up says that I think the industry as a whole also believes in this project as something that could be really exciting. So yeah, definitely looking forward to see what's next. And who knows, there's Comic Cons and other fan events and everything that happen over the summer. So maybe we'll get some kind of footage or teaser for it before the end of the year. If not, even if the episodes don't release, maybe we'll get to at least see a glimpse of it by the time this summer is over.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this week's special bonus episode. Don't forget, we love to hear your thoughts. Are you excited about this series getting picked up? What are you looking forward to most in the upcoming news about this? Are you looking forward to a release date, maybe a casting reveal of who they've gotten to play the Dark Knight? What are you most looking forward to next? Tweet us at DCAU Review or drop us a comment on one of our posts at DCAU Review on Instagram. Of course, if you want to support the podcast, you can do so by following us on our social media. You can also go ahead and follow us if you want to. If you're listening on YouTube, you can subscribe to the Pod Tower YouTube channel, where you'll get our complete library as well as any future episodes delivered to your phone. Ring that bell, hit the subscribe thing, all those things, notifications, whatever. You can also support the podcast monetarily if you'd like to. You can buy a piece of merchandise. Check out the show notes for that. Or if you want to support us and buy us a coffee, there's also a link in the show notes as well to do so. Liam, very exciting stuff happening here. Can't wait to have another one of these where we drop and talk about another article or a piece of news regarding this show. Silly as it is, we love chatting and speculating baselessly with you each and every time we get a little bit more news about this Batman Caped Crusader show.
Absolutely. Can't wait to chat about it again next time, and definitely want to hear everybody else's thoughts and how excited they are. And hey, join in on the fun of rampant baseless speculation with us and tell us what you might expect in this upcoming show. So hit us up at DCAU Review on Instagram or Twitter and let us know what you think.
Absolutely. But until next time, I'm Cal.
And I'm Liam.
And we'll talk to you on the next episode of the DCAU Review.
Adios.